This is my ultimate storage base in LEGO Fortnite Odyssey, and it holds over 220,000 items. I've spent hours perfecting every chest, every shelf, making sure everything is exactly where it needs to be. No more wasted time searching for materials. This base is optimized for efficiency, so I'm going to show you how it all works. And if you want to see builds like this come together in real time, I stream LEGO Fortnite Odyssey almost every day from 4 to 8 Pacific time on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. So before I show you the how, let me explain the why. Mostly I was tired of running around trying to find the right materials. But I also get asked why I collect so many materials to begin with. And for me, it's just really satisfying to collect stuff. But also, as this game evolves, there's going to be new items and new recipes added to the game over time. So what's not so important today might end up being way more important down the road. For this reason, I never throw away or burn items. So let's get started on the tour. So from here in the middle, from a bird's eye view, that middle building is for weapons, and then above it is to hold all the villagers. Then all of these rows on the bottom part are for all of the generalized materials. Then over here on the left side is the general equipment. Over on the right side is going to be the Star Wars stuff. And then all this stuff in the back is basically all for food and fish. So first, let's start with the weapons and crafting building. So this has my crafting bench, my forge, and my legendary forge. Now I'll probably need to change this up a little bit when they end up adding some new gems to the game eventually, but I do have a chest for each gem weapon type. So the way it works is even though they might have different hilts, as long as they're made of the same type of gem, they'll go into that chest. So this is all of the sapphire daggers. But with all the random variations you get from the Storm King and other enemies, it's good to keep this organized. Then all of these chests that are on the sides, these all just have arrows in them. So this chest over here to the left is kind of like my battle chest. It has my Rift Crystals, my Eyes of the Storm, some weapons for the Storm King, and some food as well. Over here, I've just got some backup charms and equipment. This is a solo expert world, but every once in a while, I'll bring in some help from my mods to help me with a small project or something. Other than that, now that we got the recycler, I just threw that over there, but now we're good to head on upstairs to where the villagers are. So this whole building here is pretty much empty. There's no decorations in it other than the villagers' beds. However, I still had to make it look good from the outside, and I think I did a pretty good job. So this is all one connected unit. There is a front door on each side here, and then each side on the back also has a back door. So from here, we can go in this front door, around here, up the stairs, then through this balcony, then down these stairs, around here, around the corner, and back out the other front door. Like I said, there's not much to show here, so let's move on to the generalized material storage. Now, in the most recent update, we did just get the ability to display any item on the wall, so that makes this display come together a lot better. However, regardless of the wall displays, ever since this game came out, I've had a pretty good way of organizing and storing everything, even without having them marked. So as I go through each of these sections, I'll show you why I have it organized the way I do. So they don't necessarily have to be in this order, but the main sections that I organize everything to are as follows. So over here on the left, this is what I call animal parts. Then moving over, we have miscellaneous. The next one over is fabrics. Then we have wood, stone, metal, and gems. So with a few exceptions, the animal parts section is for everything that comes from an animal or a creature. And now the way I have these chests organized is a little bit different from all the other rows, and the reasoning is I really don't need more than one chest for each type of these animal parts. Whereas like with things like wood, it makes sense to have 3 chests of backup for the same item. So starting off in this first row, we just have our brute scales. So these next 5 chests are the products of rollers. We have our blast core, sand shell, regular shell, frost shell, and the storm shell. This next column covers our 3 different claws. We have our regular claws, our sand claws, and our arctic claws. And you might notice there's a blank spot there. I assume at some point we'll get a new version of a roller, so that's just open for when that comes out. And then kind of the same thing goes over here. We've got the 2 different kinds of bear pelts, and maybe one day we'll get a third. And the last 2, we have our bones and our cursed bones. Next, we're moving on to the miscellaneous row. So this is how the rest of the storage system is going to work. Every column is going to be one type of item. And then as you go down the row, determines what item it is in the chest. So with the first 3, we've got dirt, sand, and snow, followed with fertilizer, blast powder, biomass, and batteries. Our next row is going to be the fabric row, and this is where a few exceptions from the animal parts come in. Like, obviously, silk comes from an animal and stuff like that, but all of these items go into making some sort of fabric. So the reason I have chests in multiple colors, you might notice, is because before the wall mounts were updated, it was much easier to identify where a certain type of item ended and another one began. So as you can see, all these chests are blue. That's because they all represent these silk items. So when the blue chest ends, I know that the silk is ending and I'm moving to the wool products. But obviously now that the wall mounts are updated, that's not entirely necessary. But starting from left to right, we have silk, silk thread, and silk fabric. Then we've got wool, wool thread, and wool fabric. Then we've got heavy wool and heavy wool fabric. Then the last 4 columns are vines, cords, drawstring, and feathers. So as you can see, this just makes it super easy to find stuff. If I need wool fabric, it's going to be in this column. And if this one's full, I'll usually just pull from the one that's not as full. Right across from that, we have the wood section. And now this doesn't really matter what order you do this in. However, when the game first came out, wood used to be in different tiers of rarity. So regular wood was gray, mahogany and knotroot were green, flexwood was blue, and frost pine was purple. However, now all the different wood products are just all gray. So again, it doesn't matter what order you put this in. However, I like to go from regular wood, and then you do the byproducts of that, so planks and wooden rods. And then again here, for mahogany, we have the raw form and the processed form. And then for knotroot, yet again, we have the raw form and then the processed form. And then another thing you might notice is I left a little bit of room back here. I built these back far enough for expansion so when they come out with new types of wood or new fabrics, I can always just expand backwards with ease. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is if you want to put these items on the wall vertically, because normally when you put these items on the new kind of display mount, they're going to display them like this on a little dish instead of on the wall like I have them here. So if you want to learn how to set up your wall mounts like this, I have a video link down in the description. The next row over from the wood is the stone. So the stone is the same thing. First, we start with the raw product and then the processed product. Now, really, the only oddball out here is the sandstone, and I just throw it here at the end. Some people might want to throw the sand next to this, but I just throw it in the miscellaneous section. Next, we're moving over to the metal row, and this has a few exceptions as well, but mostly works the same as the others. So again, like with copper, then copper bars, then iron, iron bars, gold, and then gold bars. And then obviously we have metal plates, but in this row I also include glass because it's made at the smelter. And now bright core, you could probably categorize this in any other section that you want to because I think it's technically a stone. And I originally grouped it here because originally you did have to use bright core to make the bars. So I've kind of just stuck it into the metal category. It works for me. Moving over to gems, we have the same setup as always. So we have unprocessed and then processed going for all the different gems. But this is also where I keep the storm core and the greater storm core, as well as the rift shards. Now this section is for gems, but these are like crystals and jewels, so I kind of put them in the same category of like treasure items. Now I could probably keep the rift shards and eyes of the storm in that category too, but as you remember from earlier, I'd rather just keep those in my battle chest. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but another thing I forgot to mention is how I marked each row. So this uses the updated wall mount, and I just put a brute scale directly on the wall for the animal section. For the miscellaneous section, I just put a shovel. I thought it worked. However, now with the updated system, you can put any one of these items to represent the whole row. And again, for this fabric row, I could put any one of these items on the front here to represent it. However, I kind of like just putting this rug here. Then for wood, I just put a gem forest axe. Then for the stone, since it's green rarity, what I did was I made a green rarity granite pickaxe. And then since metals are blue or rare rarity, I made that into a blue iron pickaxe. And then, as you can see, since gems are purple rarity, I just made that into a purple gem pickaxe. And I just thought that was a fun way to represent each of these rows. Now this next part's a bit of a flex, but as we go on, this is just a display for all my extra maps, as well as all of my extra tomes that I've collected. So that covers all these rows. We are gonna now move on to this building over to the left, which holds all of my general equipment. Now, a lot of this stuff I don't use super often, but it's still nice to have it really organized, so if I collect one of these, I can just throw it into one of these chests. Now, on the opposite side, in a similar shaped structure, we have the Star Wars area. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it just holds all the different Star Wars items, and as they add more Star Wars content, hopefully in the future, I can build upon this and add more. Next, let's start to head around back and off to the side, and we have the fish area. Now here, I probably didn't need a chest for each rarity type of bucket and rod, but it's a really nice display. So this chest has all my floppers, this one has all my slurp fish, and then this one has pretty much everything else. And then around back here, we do have all of my extra legendaries. Now, I do have every single legendary in the game. They are just at a different base, which I'll have to make a different video for. However, next we're going to move on to the food, but let's start with the seeds. So with the updated wall mounts, I could display the seeds on a wall mount. However, the idea that I had before, I like it a lot better anyway, which was just using the actual farm plot as the display. So all of these chests just hold seeds for the food that's behind it. So next is all of the food, and I have a wall display and a chest for every single food item in the game. And one thing I recently just did was farm pretty much a chest full of all of the basic food items in the game. So this will have to be a separate video, but all of these villages around this storage village are actually a whole network for animals and food farming. Other than that, that's pretty much it. One other thing I like to do in my storage bases is keep one chest full of vehicle parts. Because even though everything's organized here, it's still kind of annoying running around grabbing all the different stuff you need just to make a vehicle real quick. Also, if you like this vehicle, I've got a tutorial for it that I'll link down in the description as well. After 2 previous versions of my storage base, this has to be the most optimized one I've built, and it's made my experience way smoother. And of course, if you found this helpful, drop a like and subscribe, and if you're not already supporting a Fortnite creator in the item shop, be sure to use code EPICBRICKS. And like I said, if you want to see these builds come to life live, then be sure to check out my streams on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. I stream pretty much every day from 4 to 8 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much for all the support, and I'll see you guys on the next one.